Sending broadcasts and setting up an automated autoresponder sequence are probably the two most popular things people will do with an autoresponder system like Aweber or even a CRM. Now, what I want to do today is show you how to set up an autoresponder sequence and compare what you can do in Aweber versus what you can do in CloudNet360. Now, inside Aweber, there are two ways you can go. You can either go with this new campaign system, and in some cases, this would be the more fair comparison, but this thing is still in beta mode. And I can tell you by looking at the structure of this thing that this is going to be a mess. This is going to be a long-term conversion for some people, and it's going to be a never conversion for most people. I think what you're going to find is most people are going to stick with the legacy follow-up series because while you can add tagging into the system, in campaign mode, there's so many other complexities that are making it extremely difficult to use with very little payback. So I think that for this video, I'm just going to stick with the legacy, and we can talk about the campaign system, their new system, at some other point in time. So when you come into Aweber, one of the nice things about it is the simplicity of it. All you have to do is create a message. You click and you can do either a drag and drop email builder, plain text, or HTML editor. I like to keep my emails just plain text. Again, this is covered in other videos, but when you start doing all sorts of templates and structure and images and all these other things, to me, it's not a good idea. So I don't like it. I stick with a simple, straightforward text editor, HTML in this case, and I just build out my message and send it. So here again, just like in a broadcast, you're just going to come into this editor, you'll put in your subject line, your text, you'll save it, and that's it. It really can't get any easier than that, so I'm just going to go back because I don't need to demonstrate how to type into an HTML editor. And of course, once you have your message created, it's going to show up in this list. Now, as I've mentioned before, one of the problems you'll have is no central repository for this content. So once you create it, it's somewhat captive to this list. Now, I know you can copy to drafts, and then you can come in here into drafts, and then you can send it into a new campaign, but it's pretty much a roundabout way of doing things. So for all practical purposes, once you create a piece of content, it's pretty much captive to where you created it. Anyhow, let's go back to Legacy Follow-Up Series. If you want to move things around, you can do it pretty easily. You just drag and drop it and things get saved, and now you have a new order for your list. So that's really the bread and butter of what you're doing inside of Aweber. So let's go take a look at how this compares to what you can do in CloudNet360. Once you're inside the CRM, all you have to do is come down to Funnels and Sales Paths. And I'm going to come into this sales path. And if I want to add an email into this section, all I do is click. I click on the email icon. I select a profile. I select my content. Naturally, this content had to be written, but here's where things start to separate. Because if I want to, I can assign a lead score based on the action taken from this email. I can assign a positive result, or I can assign a negative result. More importantly to me though, I'm a big advocate of split testing. So what I want to be able to do is split test and see if I get a better response based on who's sending it. So let's see if we get a better response from Mitch or from Sally, and we'll send the exact same email. If I needed to, I could add an attachment to this email, but for the most part, I keep things as simple as possible and don't use attachments very often. I can add in a description that makes it easy for me to remember what I was trying to accomplish at this step in the sales process. And now I get to set my delay to a relative time or an absolute time. If I want this to fire at a specific time of the day, for example at 8 a.m. or 5 p.m., I could set that time here, or I can just set it for a relative time based on when they opted in. There's different philosophies on this. Some people believe that the time someone opts in is often the best time to get the email back to them because that's the time they're active. Again, we give you both ways, so it doesn't matter what your philosophy is. We've covered it either way you may choose. Submit it, and now this email is added to the sales path. We also give you a list view so you can see in this format what all these things are doing. Again, some people like the graphical view, some people like a list view. It's all up to you. Now, I think you can see that setting up an autoresponder in either system is pretty simple. You obviously don't have the opportunity to split test in Aweber, so that's a huge deficit in their capability. But what I want you to notice in this sales path is that we're not just sending email. We have merchant alerts, we have email, we have sales calls, we have custom tasks, we have follow-up calls. If you believe that in today's day and age, you can run your business exclusively off email, well, I've got some beachfront property to sell you in Houston and a couple bridges in Florida. The reality is you need to have a multifaceted approach to contacting your customer. Sometimes a text message will work, sometimes direct mail will work, phone calls, emails. All these things need to be incorporated into your sales approach. So when you look at Aweber and CloudNet360 as strictly an emailing platform, when it comes to autoresponders, besides the split testing that they don't have, which personally I think that's a big deal, but if you discount the split testing, you could essentially flip a coin and say either system will work for you. But when you look at the realities of what you need to be doing in your business, that you need to be doing more than just simple emailing, there's no choice but to get into a system like CloudNet360 where you can integrate email with all these other functions, including custom functions, whatever you may need for your specific business, and put them into one consistent flow. When you try to have one flow with your email and a separate flow that's supposedly integrated with your email, but not really because there's no connection, you're going to run into trouble. You need to have a system where your email goes out in a specific order. So this email relates to this sales call, and this sales call then relates to this email, and then this email sets up this sales call into the custom task and beyond. So I think you can see there's a clear-cut advantage when you are able to integrate your email flow with the rest of your sales process. This is Gary with CloudNet360, helping you sell more, faster, with total integration of email into your entire business process.